Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to deliver this presentation today. I'd like to thank Chilenut for the invitation. I'd like to welcome also all the participants of this virtual edition of Chilenut. It's a pleasure to have you here. The topic for today will be why Chile in a nutshell. I'll do my best to explain you all the main insights and characteristics of our wonderful industry. I'd like to start with some general information about Chile. Well, from a phytosanitary perspective, you can consider Chile an island. We have natural barriers that allow us to produce fruits with very little use of chemicals. We have the Atacama Desert in the north, the Andes Mountains on the east, the Pacific Ocean on the west, and Antarctica in the south. Chile is a very serious and reliable business partner, member of the OECD. The country has signed many free trade agreements with different nations around the world, and today we have preferential access to 86.3% of the global GDP. The country is well connected to the world. We have a long export tradition, very state-of-the-art infrastructure to ensure a smooth handling of the export business. Specifically talking about Chilean walnuts, I like to briefly go through the main aspects of the production, the processing, the markets, and the promotion. The historical background, how did the walnuts came into Chile? Well, walnuts came to Chile with the Spanish. They were referring to these walnuts in the literature as the Portuguese nut, and then the locals adopted the names of Aconcagua or Chilean walnuts. The first trial to have grafted walnut trees in Chile was done by the Ministry of Agriculture in 1935. And they had a small nursery in Santiago where they were grafting varieties like Pain, Harley, Eureka, Franqueta, and others. We had to wait some time until we could see the first orchards planted with commercial orchards in Chile. First orchards in the 60s and 70s were planted with trees grown from California seed varieties. Then later in the 70s, the Sur and the Chandler cultivars were imported from California. In the late 70s, we had the first commercial orchards of Sur, and then in the early 90s, the first commercial orchards of Chandlers. Well, Chile provides a perfect ecosystem for walnut production, and this is the perfect combination of different factors. I like to highlight the main three factors in this process. It's first, it's a climate. Central provinces of Chile enjoy a temperate Mediterranean climate, with the rainfall increasing considerably and progressively from north to south. Then the water, we have a good water availability with numerous rivers that are filled with winter rains and snow melting from the Andes. And then also the soil, excellent fertile soils with good amounts of minerals and organic material. All these factors also are combined with the hard work done by growers and handlers so that we can provide the world excellent quality walnuts from Chile. Let's talk about the production. Well, as many of you already know, Chile is the main producer of walnuts in the southern hemisphere. We basically are producing in the provinces where we have the Mediterranean climate, and we divide these valleys in terms of analysis, we divide it in northern, central, and southern valleys. Very, very important characteristics of our industry is that we have counter season. We harvest in the second half of March in the case of the Sur variety, and then we harvest in April for the Chandler variety. At the moment, the country has over 47,000 hectares planted with walnuts, and about 37,000 of them are bearing. Here you have the information and the name of the provinces where we are cultivating walnuts. In the northern valleys, we have Coquimbo and Valparaíso. In the central valleys, Metropolitan Region and O'Higgins, and then the southern valleys, Maule, Ñuble, and Biobío. The northern valleys, today the northern valleys account for about 22% of the surface planted. Coquimbo has 2,690 hectares, and Valparaíso 7,864 hectares. The characteristics of this climate is that here you can have excellent climate, excellent soil, but unfortunately we have a disadvantage of a high or risk of drought. So also it's not really very prominent for future walnut plantations in this area since we don't have enough water supply for new orchards. Central Valleys, this is the main production area of the country at the moment. The Central Valleys represent 54% of the surface planted. The metropolitan region with almost 17,000 hectares, and the O'Higgins with 8,256 hectares. Here we have a very good climate, good soil. There is enough water supply, but again, we have a disadvantage that there is low availability of land and very expensive land, mainly because most of the Chilean population lives in this area close to the capital city. So there is not really land available for a big increase in hectares planted in these valleys. Let's go now to the southern valleys. The southern valleys today represent about 24% of the surface planted. Here we have three provinces. We have the Maule, with the majority of the hectares in this area, and then we have also Ñuble and Biobío. Characteristics here is that we have excellent soil and excellent water supply. There is good availability of land. It's still possible to find land for future projects, but every time as we move more south, we increase the risk of frost during the spring and also the chance of rain during the harvest. Another limitation, if we want to keep on moving south, is also the higher pressure of Santomonas because of the more humid climate in the southern parts. Well, our industry has gone through a tremendous growth in the last years, and that has been in part also possible thanks to the walnut nurseries. The nurseries have done a very good job coping with the demand for walnut trees. And not only a very good job in terms of number of trees, but also in very high quality trees. They are producing healthy trees that allowed us to have low replanting rates and very homogeneous growth. Most of the plantations in Chile were planted with Juglans regias, the rootstocks. But in the last years, we have seen the tendency also that clonal rootstocks are available and like Blatch. So we might see more plantations with clonal rootstocks or more number of trees being used for replanting with this more disease-resistant rootstock. Walnut orchards, well, here I pointed out the main characteristics of the Chilean walnut orchards. We have gone through a tremendous improvement in the last years, and the tendencies have been that moving from small to big plantations, every time we are trying to be more efficient or we are looking for economics of scale, that means that the projects are bigger and bigger every time. Also, clear tendency has been to have higher number of trees per hectare. Most of the modern orchards or new projects have drip irrigation. We have moved almost, I think, completely from traditional to drip irrigation. We have done a very, very great job in terms of high yields per hectare. And also another tendency that I mentioned, given the characteristics of the valleys, that each time the plantations are moving south. Well, let's talk a little bit about the crop 2020. The estimate for this crop is 129,000 metric tons. In Chile, we are basically growing two varieties, the Chandler representing 85% of the crop, and the Serbs represented 11%. Other varieties represent just 4%. The fact of growing two varieties is perfect for the terms of management, also for the market. The Chilean Chandlers have the characteristics of high percentage of extra light, and they are extremely easy to crack. And the Serb varieties have a very high kernel yield, and it's an early variety, so it's perfect in terms of processing and also for shipments to load quick shipments of Serbs in the early season, and then continue with the shipments of Chandlers later on. The quality that Chile has been able to achieve has also been possible because of research and development. Chilenut is doing a very hard job to put all the knowledge available in the hands of the growers, organizing seminars and classes, different manual books, etc., so that everyone can adopt the best management practices. Let's go now to the part of the processing. Starting with the harvesting, hulling, and drying. Well, as I mentioned before, we harvest in the second half of March in the case of the serve variety, and in April in the case of the chandlers. The tendency here has been to move from a manual industry into a highly mechanical and professionalized industry. Most of the equipment that we are using today is imported from California and Europe. And also we have the fact that there are professional processing providers for the service of harvesting, hulling, and drying, with very specialized companies for each job. The Chilean crop is exported in two formats. We have the in-shell or kernels. Here you can see what is the percentage that represents each of the business line. Well, in the last years, we have seen a tendency of the volume exported as in-shell going up. For example, in 2019, 54% of the crop was exported as in-shell and 45% was exported as kernels. What will happen in the future? Well, this will depend on the demand in the different countries. If we see aggressive demand from India or other countries in Asia, probably we will see that the percentage of in-shell being exported is higher in terms of total percentage of the crop. And if we see, if we enter or are more aggressive in terms of marketing the Chilean kernels in the more mature markets, we might see that the tendency is that the kernels go up. Time will tell. Well, let's see the main characteristics of the in-shell business. Here we have technical standards available by the Chilean Walnut Commission that you can refer if you want to know all the parameters, like the categories that we export as a country, like extra, cat 1, cat 2. Here you can also find all the information regarding the tolerance for internal and external defect, size, color, etc. Well, Chile has a very good advantages in terms of in-shell. We are harvesting very big size walnuts, allowing us to supply 34 plus, 36 plus, and different sizes to the markets. The characteristics is that we have high yields, as I mentioned in the characteristics of the varieties, also very clean and nice shell. And the different formats that we export the in-shell are unsized, jumbo large, and sorted by size. Let's talk now about the machine crack. Again, you can check the technical standards if you want to check all the parameters of the different categories. Here, Chile is basically exporting up to 90% halves, down to 20% halves, quarters, and pieces. Halves are a perfect product for snack. Quarters and pieces also a great ingredient for industrial use. I like to mention here that most of the packers have done good big investments in the last years to improve food safety, state-of-the-art shelling lines, more sorting equipment, so that we can supply the world every time a better and better product. Also, we have paid great attention to certifications and infrastructure to deliver a great machine crack to the different countries. Hand crack, this is a special characteristic of Chile too. We are still doing hand crack, and we have done for decades. Again, you can check the quality standards for the hand crack business. Here, basically, we are exporting halves and quarters, the mainly in colors extra light. And the hand crack is a premium product that goes to niche markets, and it's very well used in decoration and toppings, as you can see on the picture. Well, let's continue with the processing. I'd like to tell you a little bit of the average shell-out rate that we have for the chandler and serve variety. Here you have the information of the average numbers of the last year. I would tell that on average, the Chilean chamber has a kernel yield of 50%. That can go a little bit up and down depending on the year, but on average, we always achieve 50% kernel yield. The cell variety has higher yield. I would tell that on average, we get 56% kernel yield for the cell. Regarding the average sizes of the varieties, here you have also the information of the last years. Here the characteristic is that we do all the management in the orchards focused to harvest big size nuts, and we have a good amount available of sizes from 32 up to deliver the jumbo or 34 plus, 36 plus that are available in enough numbers from Chile. Well, the initial shipments, I'd like to show you this chart also to highlight the fact of the counter season. Here you can see the dynamics of the shipments for the initial, and we are basically shipping most of the initial from April until September, with big amounts in April, May, and June. In case of the kernel shipments, also we start with big volumes from May onwards, with the big volumes in June, July, August, and then the quantity starts going down. Again, you can see the characteristics of the dynamic of the counter season, which allows us both for the initial and the kernels to deliver the product before Christmas, so that the packers or importers in the different destination markets have plenty of time for repacking and distributing the walnuts in all the different channels. What are the markets for our walnuts? Well, Chile has a very well diversified business markets. Here you have the main destination regions in terms of importance. Our main market for us today is Europe, representing 44% of the total shipments. Then the Middle East and Africa with 32%, Asia and the Pacific Rim with 14%, and Central and South America with 9%. If we think that probably we will see strong demand in the future from Asian countries, so the tendency should be that the percentage of the crop exported to Asia should grow considerably in the coming years. What are the top markets for the Chilean walnuts? Well, talking specifically about the season 2019, here you can see the information for the initial and kernel markets. For the initial, the top market is Turkey with 25% of the initial shipments. Then we have the Emirates with 20%, Italy 11%, Morocco 8%, and Vietnam 7%, while the other countries represent 29% of the shipments. For the kernels, our top market is Germany with 26% of the shipments. Then Brazil, Italy, and Spain, they all have 10% of representative number for the shipments. And then the Netherlands with 5%, while other countries represent 39%. Well, the successful story that come with the Chilean walnuts around the world has been a hard job of the private and the public sector. And when it comes to the public sector, ProChile has been a key player, helping us promote and get to know our walnuts by many people and many consumers around the world. Today, ProChile has 57 commercial offices in 45 countries, with presence in Africa, Asia, Central America and the Caribbean, Europe, Middle East, North and South America. If you need any information regarding Chilean walnuts, you can contact Chilenut, and also please get in contact with your local office of ProChile in your country. ProChile has done a tremendous job helping us link the offer with the demand. So in the case of the Chilean walnut industry has been a great success because of, as I said, joint work of the private and the public sector. Well, the identity of the Chilean walnuts is all built in terms of the counter season and the freshness of the products and the quality aspects. We do different marketing activities in the markets around the world, but we have a central idea to highlight the fact of the counter season. We want to communicate also the main aspects of the origin, trying to tell the most important information and the characteristics of our industry here in Chile. But the main focus or the main message is always has to do with the freshness of the product and why consumers and importers should take fresh walnuts during the off season when the Northern Hemisphere does not have it. Also, we continue telling the benefits of eating walnuts to the different consumers and countries with, as you can see here on the slides. If you want to meet Chilean packers, well, we are present in many exhibitions and conferences around the world. In normal times, we are always taking part of in international congresses like the INC or the Frunut conference in China. With Pro Chile, we are part of the Chilean pavilion in different exhibitions like Gulfood in Dubai, Anuga in Cologne, or Cial in Paris. Unfortunately, with this pandemic situation, all these conferences and exhibitions have been canceled. We hope to see you again in person once it all comes back to normality. And regarding our local seminar, which is Exponut, also with the changes of the pandemic, we are now in the virtual session for the first time, but we hope that it will all come back to normality and we can continue to do the seminar in presence. Usually takes place in May each year in the capital city, Santiago. Well, the industry is organized under the umbrella of Chilenut, and Chilenut has two committees, the agricultural and the commercial committee. The agricultural is in charge of developing all the technical and agricultural aspects of our industry, and the commercial committee is in charge of all the export topics like food safety, quality standards, marketing campaigns, etc., etc. Here you have the list of all the companies that are part of the commercial committee, and you're welcome to visit their websites or contact them personally if you want to get more information about each of the members of the commercial committee. Well, to have main conclusions, I hope that I answered the question, why Chile, why you should go for the Chilean walnuts, and we should grow together for all the increasing volume that will come. The main conclusions here is that well, the industry has gone through a remarkable growth in the last years, and this will continue for sure, as many new orchards will start bearing in the coming years. And the image or the identity of the Chilean walnut is very well positioned. People already in markets already recognize that the high quality, the advantages of color, the flavor, meat yield, and size. And also, I like to tell that Chile is a very serious and reliable partner for the counter season. You can rely on Chile as a good supplier, and we will continue to do our best to deliver excellent quality walnuts through the markets around the world. Thank you very much for your attention. It has been a pleasure to deliver this presentation. In case you have any question, please contact me by email. I'll be happy to answer all the questions that you might have. Thank you very much, and goodbye.